the Taftie High Potential Reverse Pitch event powered by Euroequity BPI firms. My name is Cristina Chumacero. I'm the community lead of the Taftie High Potential Community, and together with my colleagues Pierre Alexis, Gaspar, and Agathe, we are very happy to have you with us today. For those that are not familiar, Euroequity is the matchmaking platform connecting startups with investors in Europe and Africa. Together with the Taftie network, we invited ClimateTech investors in Europe to share their investment thesis today. This Taftie High Potential Community aims to promote best-in-class SMEs with a strong innovation potential coming from all the European countries and selected by the innovation agencies in Europe. For now, we organize 2 pitching sessions in which companies can join. Then the previous event it took place in March, and the next one will be in November. And as this is the first reverse pitch, we are very happy to welcome our esteemed investors that will this time will present their investment strategies and areas of interest. And entrepreneurs, now is your turn to ask questions. This is an excellent opportunity, and I hope you really gain value on both sides, investors and entrepreneurs. So I will start introducing our speakers. So we have from Junction Growth Investors, represented by Ruben Lorer. He will be moderating. He will be speaking. Hi, Ruben. Future Energy Ventures, represented by Anna Trendovic, Investment Associate. Hi, Anna. Kiko Ventures, represented by Marius Evers, an investor. Turn Forward, represented by Pietro Rossi, Open Innovation Specialist. Itachi Ventures, represented by Jan Markovic, Associate. East Hill Equity, represented by Fredrik Eiserman, Venture Capital Investment Manager. And Brink Ventures, represented by Emma Ertin, Investment Director. And last but not least, Elevate Ventures, represented by Blanca Sastre, Associate. So how it will be the event? Each of you investors, you have 4 minutes to present your fund. Then we will open the floor for questions, and we will let entrepreneurs ask their questions on the chat box for 3 minutes. Feel free to ask any relevant questions. At the end of the event, investors, you will receive the registration information of the participant companies, including their Euroequity profile, so you can reach out to them if this is interesting for you. So now let's start with Ruben. The floor. I will be timing you. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you. Very nice to meet you, everyone. Ruben from Junction Growth Investors. Well, let's get going. I guess you have the slides on your side, right? Fantastic. Let's start with this one, maybe, because in a way it says it all in terms of what we believe as a fund. And I should say as a late stage VC early growth fund, which is fully focused on the energy transition. Our core belief is really that most of the technologies are actually out there and need scale. As I was saying, we focus fully on the energy transition, and what we try to achieve is invest in companies which have technologies which are commercialized and out there. The types of companies which we focus on are asset-light businesses, so not infrastructure, which aim to have a positive ESG impact, as we believe that those always go hand in hand with positive financial returns. And we as an SFDR Article 9 fund are also incentivized on those positive ESG returns. In terms of targets which we focus on, or sectors which we target, we look at grid enhancing technologies, HVAC optimization, smart installers, home energy management, but also energy management solutions for C&I players, new market models, and smart buildings. Those are really the 6, let's say, focus sectors within the energy transition which we aim to invest in. But that doesn't mean that we are open to other sectors which aim to accelerate the energy transition. If we move on to the next slide, maybe a bit more information on us as a fund. So I already mentioned we are an Article 9 fund SFDR within the SFDR regulation. We focus on growth equity, and we have over 100 million, which is committed now. The target for our fund size is 125 million, which we are closing this summer. And the types of investment tickets which we tend to do is between 2 and 15 million, with a sweet spot around 5 to 10. That can be within a minority setting, or we can look at buyouts for more mature type of businesses, which tend to be then typically in the installer or distribution space. Our focus in terms of geography, that's also important to say, is fully on Europe, with a preference of continental Europe, but we can look also at the Nordics and even at the UK. If we move on to the next slide, just quickly on who is our team. It's really a mix of previous investment professionals who are in the financial world with a focus on the energy transition, as well as ex-entrepreneurs. Two examples: Bruno van der Schuren, who founded Lampiris and sold that to Total, which became the green energy arm of Total within the Benelux. It was a retailer in green energy, over 1 million customers. Pieter-Jan Mermans, who founded Restore, which was a demand-side flexibility platform, which got integrated into Centrica back in 2018. And then other than those two co-founders, we have Dirk and Vincent, who come out of the private equity industry and founded the fund 2 years ago. Maybe on the next slide, our investment team is supported by an advisory board, which also comes fully out of the energy transition. So it's a combination of 3 entrepreneurs. You see Sandra Trittin, who founded Tico, is now at Bebop. You see Chris Peters, who was the former CEO of Elia, the TSO in Belgium, and 50 Hertz in Germany. And then you have Toon Boyten, who was the former CEO of Tado, as well as Lieve Kreten, who is a senior partner at Deloitte. They form our advisory board, which is quite helpful in making the investment decisions along the sectors which we talked about just earlier. And then last but not least, on the next slide, just to give you a quick sneak peek into our portfolio. So as I mentioned, we founded the fund about 2 years ago. We now have 5 companies in the portfolio. Ampassimon, which does grid enhancing technologies through dynamic line ratings, a combination of hardware, software. EET, which is a plug-in battery player, as well as solar PV balcony PV for apartments. Eternity, which is an end-to-end solutions for installers in PV, HVAC, and e-mobility, all the way from lead generation up to automatic ordering and project processing. Hology, which is a software supplier and integrator for DSOs, focused on billing, but also ERP systems. And then Highsopt, which is a BIM software provider, which builds digital twin solutions for HVAC calculation of complex projects to ensure reduction in terms of CO2 footprint, as well as optimization and pricing, etc. Voila, that's in a nutshell who Junction is, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ruben. The floor is open for questions. Entrepreneurs, you can type it on the chat box.
I already see a first one: with energy storage fall into the focus? Yes, absolutely. We would not invest in project development, so large-scale energy storage we would categorize more as infrastructure, but everything that is related to the software enabling of energy storage, for sure, and energy storage or battery tech and solutions would be something which we would also look at. And then maybe building on that, the next question around hardware software splits which we target. We don't have a specific target for hardware, software, and services, which is also part of the investments which we do. But given the fact that we look at investments of 5 to 10 million, we would assume that the majority of the investments which we would do would probably fall more within the software sector. And oftentimes the solutions which we look at, if it has a hardware component, it's a combination of a software which is associated to it. A manufacturer of equipment for production of hydrogen. Yes, we could look at that if it is I would assume an OEM of parts of an electrolyzer or something like that. That could be something which we look at if it is a commercialized technology again.
Thank you, Ruben. One last question. What are the key aspects that you look at before investing? Growth type metric or long-term defensibility?
More growth type metrics, since we are a late stage VC and a growth fund. So we would look at growth potential, market size, the typical things which you would look at within a VC, let's say. But on top of that, we also look at the investor track record and the extent to which the technology is already in the market and has already a proven commercial traction. Very important for us.
Perfect. Thank you. I let you maybe answer other questions by written.
Yeah.
We need to continue. Thank you, Ruben, with Anna. Anna, feel free to share your screen.
All right, happy to. Then I will share now. Okay. Let me see. Full screen.
I think you
can you see it well?
Yes, yes.
All right. So my name is Anna Trndovic. I'm with Future Energy Ventures. Thank you so much for having me, and happy to tell you about our fund. So for those of you that might not know, when you're starting a venture fund, you're signing yourself up for a 10-year journey. So you're going to spend, it's like getting on a boat and crossing the Atlantic or Pacific. It's going to be a long journey. And before we started, we asked ourselves, like, all right, if we're in it for 10 years, what is the biggest and most exciting investment opportunity over the next decade that will keep us going for this long? And for us, it is the energy transition and decarbonization. So what we really like about it as VC is that the market is huge and it's growing fast. That's what we love to see, and that's what we look for. And with our investment strategy, which is focused on transportation, renewable energy, and built environment mostly, we cover 70% of the big opportunity.
Anna, are you changing of slides? Because we just see the PDF file. So.
Okay. So
you might need to share full screen.
Yeah.
Not just one window. Oh, yeah, we can see.
All right. So that was slide 2, our opportunity. So here you can see the big size and the growth rates and the 70% that we cover with the transport, energy, and built environment. And since it's so big, we cannot do it alone. So we partner with other investors. Investing is a team sport. So you might often hear like, yeah, it's competitive and VCs compete for the best deals. But that's not exactly the case, because you always have to form a syndicate. And it's actually really good to co-invest with other investors. Everyone brings something unique to the table that helps the company grow. And of course, startups are at the heart of it, because it's the entrepreneurs and their ideas and the businesses that they build that solve the biggest challenges. And here's a bit of our story. So we're not a newbie. We started in 2016, and our first portfolio was similar to the current strategy. So also energy transition and decarbonization. We did 50 startup investments. We did both hardware, software. We collected a lot of learnings. We've seen a few companies doing really well. So we have in our portfolio Termondo, Virta, EV Energy. These are very fast growing and impressive valuation companies. Over that time, we currently doubled, and we aim to triple the value of the portfolio by 2028, when we intend to exit entirely, because it's going to be 12 years already. And as of now, we are on a new journey with Fund 2. In December 2023, we managed to do our first closing, and at 110 million, and the target fund size is 250. So we're right now getting near to the finish line, which is for us December this year. And we invest in 3 themes, so future energy, future cities, and future technologies, doing ticket sizes 1 to 10 million, mainly focusing on Series A companies, with a software focus, and we plan to do 30 investments over the next 5-6 years. We already done 3 investments from the new fund this year, and we invest across Europe, North America, and Israel. This is us. For such a journey, you need the best team on the planet. So this is our group. We are very diverse. So we have people from all around Europe, the US, Israel, many different languages, many different backgrounds, which makes us unique and brings it all together. So thanks a lot for having me. Super happy to be here and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Anna. You can, entrepreneurs, you can ask your questions, type your questions here on the chat box.
No questions.
I let you feel free to highlight some. Here it's what are the most exciting opportunities right now in energy tech? Yeah, tell us a bit on from your experience. This.
All right. So right now we're very excited about batteries. I think they're the fastest growing segment. So battery storage, also CNI solar. We already did an investment in Station A. It's a US company, but this segment is also very, very promising. EV mobility is well funded, but continues to grow. I think also a very interesting opportunity, especially in Europe and North America, is in the built environment. So there's a lot of support from the government for energy efficiency, for renovations. So although the built environment seems to be a very old school conservative industry, I think there's a lot of opportunity there now. Then the next one was whether we do Series B. Yes, we mostly focus on Series A, but if there's an interesting Series B, we can also do a few.
Perfect. Maybe you can let us know in the countries maybe that you focus on.
Yeah, Europe for us is the whole of Europe. So the DACH region, France, Spain, Italy, everywhere. North America, US and Canada, and Israel. There was a question about verticals or use cases. So we have 3 big ones, which is energy, cities, and technologies. And in the energy, we would do anything across the entire value chain. So if it's a software for accelerating deployment of PV, wind, or improving efficiency, operation and maintenance, whether it's something for digitizing the grids, like flexibility for grid congestion management. We did our investment into Piccolo in that space. Or on the demand side, so energy efficiency measures or demand side response. Then in the cities, we have mobility and built environment. So I talked a bit about that. And future technologies is our wild card. So if we see something, for example, right now, there is a lot of buzz around AI, data centers. So if we see something that doesn't fit into our verticals, but it's still interesting, we have up to 15% allocation to the technologies that we can still do that.
Perfect, Anna. Thank you very much. I let you answer some questions on the chat box if there is, if you can do it. The next one is I would like to introduce Marius Evers. Marius.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself first. Let me quickly share also my presentation, even though I actually did not bring a presentation, only like a small slide that you can all see at least our logo. Because even though I started in consulting, I hate slides. Anyhow, let me start with basically like a quick Kiko intro. So hi from Kiko. We are a venture capital fund that is actually not a fund. We act like a fund. We have a dedicated investment, budget allocation, our own investment committees, and so on and so forth. However, we are actually part of IP Group, which is a publicly listed investment corporation here in London, whose balance sheet we actually invest from. And what do we invest into? It's C to Series A sweet spot ClimateTech businesses in Europe with ticket sizes from like roughly $1 to $5 million, dollars, euros, or pounds, whatever you want. We invest roughly 20 to 30 million each year and deliver plus minus top quartile, top quintile returns ever since IP Group started actually the strategy 12 years ago. As a fund, we are a team of 7 investors, and especially our partners, super experienced in everything ClimateTech are. All of them are in ClimateTech since like 20 years plus, so also went through the first boom and bust phase of ClimateTech, so to say. That was like in 28, 29. 2008, sorry, 2009. And what makes us maybe a little bit special as a fund, we don't actually have an investment thesis or like specific verticals that we focus on. We can do software, hardware-enabled software, software-enabled hardware, as long as it has to do with climate or as long as it has a positive impact on the environment. However, we of course still do trend deep dives, and a couple of the trends that we are currently seeing is, I think, similar to Future Energy Ventures, the incredible growth of solar. I think nobody has expected that, and we see opportunities ranging from how to basically make the grid more resilient for these new types of energy inputs to energy storage. Other focuses we're currently having are data centers, increased energy consumption through AI, the maritime environment, microplastics, and all that stuff, and also agriculture, biological, soil carbon, measurement of soil quality, and also supply chain stabilization and food supply chains. And I think what also sets us apart a little bit next to this not really having a specific investment thesis is also how we support our founders. We as Kiko, we can basically rely on the, let's say, relatively large IP Group network. So for example, we have our own IP lawyers, we have our own headhunters, and in general, I would say are quite engaged investors in terms also of fundraising. So helping our portfolio companies essentially raise funds in next rounds and next rounds, and also very engaged in finding first customers, pilot customers, and so on and so forth, especially for our hardware companies. And lastly, I think what also makes us special is that we are not necessarily bound by the traditional VC model. So as a balance sheet investor, we can also do later stage deals, we can also do venture debt, and especially we are also not bound by, let's say, exit horizons. So like if one of our portfolio companies needs 2 or 3 more years to really build out their solution, we can also cover for that. And I think last point, which I think is very interesting for you, what we're looking for in founders, I think that's always a very personal question to ask a VC. I personally look very much how much grit there is with the founders, because I think building a startup is a constant journey of also getting no's. Do you have basically a secret sauce that you have like a special knowledge of a market or like know about like a special timing that really makes you stand out? And also, of course, high EQ and EQ. And I think in general, in terms of business models, we look, of course, for large markets or good traction, and also technology-wise. While in the long term, we always believe in business models being a competitive advantage. I think in the short term, also an IP protectable technology can also very much help to give you a competitive advantage. And that was it. Very short about Kiko, and happy to answer all of your questions. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Marius. Maybe just to confirm the tickets and the focus on the seed stage, pre-seed.
We technically can do everything. However, I would say our sweet spot is like seed, Series A, investing between 1 and 5 million initially. However, then when it goes to then like Series B, C, D, we can also do bigger tickets basically, but then mostly as follow-on investors.
Perfect. There is one question from Julius. What's your take on making solar economics work in Europe? What's the interest in playing the value chain for you?
I mean, solar already works in Europe. So I mean, I don't 100% agree with the premise of the question, so to say. I think what still is needed is, I think, faster deployment of storage and transmission solutions. And I think I'm seeing a couple of very interesting companies in the space. So one of them, which we didn't invest into, is Continuum Industries here in the UK, which are essentially having like both public and private entities to plan grids more effectively. So basically reducing the time for new transition lines, which are of course needed to distribute solar to the places where it's generated and where it's needed.
Perfect. Then I see some questions. Can you please let us know if you would be interested in water solutions and blue economy? Is this something that also you are looking for?
Yes, 100%. As stated, like I think our mandate is very, very broad. However, there you also need to have, I think, a viable concept where you get the energy from, and where the clean water is actually needed, right? Like I think clean water, we are like in desalination, we are seeing primarily, like for example, in Israel, where I think it makes a lot of sense. While here in Europe, I think, like here in Germany, we don't necessarily need desalination plants, for example. So I think it's also like a question of which region you are targeting.
Perfect, Marius. Thank you very much. I let you answer some of the questions here on the chat box, and we will continue with the next investor from Italy, Pietro Rossi. Pietro.
Everybody, let me share my screen.
You want?
Okay. Okay. Could you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So, hi everybody, my name is Pietro Rossi from Italy, from Terna Forward. Terna Forward is the corporate venture capital arm of Terna, the Italian transmission system operator. It's like, for example, National Grid in the UK, and the transmission system operator is responsible for the matching between the demand and energy power and the dispatching of the energy flow, and also to all the asset infrastructure for high voltage power in power grid in Italy. So Terna Forward is the corporate venture capital, was funded in November 2022, so 1 year and a half. And we started with indirect investment. We joined the corporate partners one of CDP Venture Capital. CDP Venture Capital is part of CDP, that is a national investment bank. It's like BP France. And then we start with our direct investment. You can see the two startup in portfolio. We see in the new charts. One is in Italy, the other one is in Spain. We co-invest with Redeia, the TSO in Spain. And we also started our venture building activities, but it's not the focus of this school. Our asset under management is about 50 million, 50, as you can see in the slide. And I move to our investment thesis in order to give you some examples. We have 5 verticals. The first one is managing uncertainty, so all the technology that could support us in to improve our capacity to monitor the grid, real time or also long term. For example, weather forecast model. And the second one is very close related to 10 activities, and is a asset-based investment. There are copper per grid, so new materials, new coatings, for example, also superconductors, smart transformers in order to increase the capacity, electric capacity of the grid. The third is full efficient and zero risk maintenance, so all a solution that could improve our field workers' safety and to automate the process, so exoskeleton, drones, robots to move towards predictive maintenance. The fourth vertical is human-centric corporation. We are power entities, but we also are corporate, so we look for solutions that could support our colleagues from the administration departments, so legal, procurement, finance, HR, and so on. And the fifth vertical is wider, is sustainable energy transition. We look for solutions that could have an impact on energy transition. For example, electric car, it's not our business. However, the increase of the spread of electric cars have a huge impact on the grid, electric grid. So it's all this vertical, all the technology must be a sort of connection with Terna activities. That is the parent company of Terna Forward, because we are moved by strategic drivers, KPIs. We want to, in the next slide, I give you a description of what we're looking for. So we invest in Europe, in Italy, in Europe, UK. This is our geographic areas. We can also invest in US, but it's quite more difficult for the moment to be attractive for startups in the US. For this reason, we just started our direct investment, so we decide to focus on Europe. We can play as a follower or lead investor. It depends on the type of the round, and maybe in Italy we could lead investor. In Europe in general we can play as a follower investor. Our sweet spot of the ticket is 1 million, because below this threshold we can manage all the process, also the approval process inside the corporate, the Terna 4 vehicle. Above the threshold we can be faster than ask the authorization from our parent company. However, our first investment we overcome the threshold because it depends on the type on the ticket. If you think that this investor is a very good investor, we can also increase our ticket size. We invest up to Series A, whatever it means, because it's different between Europe and the US, hardware and software. And we look for some traction for this reason. Our technology maturity, the technology maturity solution must be bigger than 4. Then there is some corporate venture feature. I spent my last 6 months as an investor residence in CDP Venture Capital Fund, so I have the opportunity to wear the hat of the venture capital fund. Now I have the hat of corporate venture capital fund. It's quite different. I think the corporate venture capital fund are more aligned with the startup in terms of developing the product. Could bring also the validation of the product, support the startups in co-develop the solution. We also try to be a partner, not only an investor, support the startups in its growth, for example, with an hands-on approach. This is the team. We are 6 people in Terna Forward, and that's it for Terna for me. And we feel free to ask every question you have.
Thank you, Pietro. Any questions? I see one. Hopefully.
ACVDC space, I see. We develop, ACDVC space, so high voltage direct current is a very interesting perimeter for us. So yes, because it could have a very huge impact on the grid. So it's something that we want to explore further in the next months. Now we are doing a vertical on deep tech solution, asset solution, and to know for the copper plate grid vertical. So high voltage direct current is something that it's in our investment area.
Perfect. There's one question: how do you validate the strategic fit with Terna? Do you run pilots with the startups?
Yes, the validation is done with the support of our colleagues, technical colleagues from the business line. For the investment, we prefer having the good feedback from our colleagues for the business line, because they have a huge expertise. They well know all the problem of the grid. And yeah, we can also run pilot with startups. Our goal is to make also the connection between startups and our colleagues. As I said before, we're moved by strategic drivers, not only financer.
Thank you, Pietro. We need to continue with I would like to give the floor to Jan from Itaki Ventures now.
Nice.
Jan?
Thanks, Maria. Can you see the screen, everybody?
Yes.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, guys, pleasure to meet you all. My name is Jan, associate with Taftie Ventures, which is a globalized corporate venture capital fund with 600 million assets under management. To really address the first question first, our name does imply that we are a corporate venture fund. However, the way how we're set up is like a financial VC. So essentially what we do with our structure is bring in best out of both worlds together. So Hitachi technically is an LP in our fund, but again, we are an independent entity. So this gives us the nimbleness to move fast and partner with the best companies in the world, while also we are a party that is not just bringing money to the table, but has a massive industrial conglomerate and globalized conglomerate that can become a partner, a reseller, or a go-to-market partner in general. We invest globally in seed to Series B stage companies that develop cutting edge technologies in mostly two buckets, the digital sphere as well as environmental tech. We have, again, our sweet spot at Series A, so the initial ticket size range between 2 to 8 million. We are quite flexible when it comes to that, and also our role, so we can lead, co-lead, build syndicates. Again, given our structure, we are even willing to invest alongside our own competitors on the mothership sit and don't really see any issues. Again, really the most important for us is to invest in the most and with the most independent view on technologies. We have done so ever since 2020 and invested in over 30 investments, of which 3 were coined unicorn status. We've had 1 successful IPO, and we are keen to partner more. There's lots of dry powder that we're deploying. Again, we are just investing out of a 300 million fund that was closed last year. And within the environmental tech bucket, maybe just to elaborate quickly on this one, here our focus and mandate is quite broad. There's a couple of sectors that we exclude, and it might be easier to mention those except for the ones that we do actually invest in. And so this is anything B2C related, as well as agriculture and the cement and construction industry. But if you are developing strong technology and IP heavy technology in those sectors and believe that you can really become an interesting company in the long term and also leverage Hitachi as a go-to-market partner, then feel free to hit us, and yeah, happy to discuss further.
Thank you, Jan. The floor is now open for questions. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So lately we've done mostly seed investments, but we could and also have done pre-seeds. So this is totally feasible, and we can adjust our ticket size. I think the likelihood is just not as high. Investment process is we tend to have 4 to 8 weeks on average. Again, we don't need sponsorship from business units or any validation, so we can move independently with our own lens. Fastest deal that we've done was 2 weeks. Revenue is depending on stage. At Series A stage, we want to see around 1 million in ARR or some other indicators for product market fit. On the hardware side, where we do invest, TRL 6 is the minimum. So we want to see that the tech is working. We don't want to take the tech risk, but the scaling risk. And we do expect synergies, but some of them are rather long-term, some of them are immediate. Again, our mandate is not to invest too close to Hitachi, so we don't want Hitachi to acquire those companies. We don't want to be perceived as early M&A detection arm, but we really want to double down on collaboration, and it takes how long it takes. Some of them are faster, some take a while.
Perfect. Emerging markets, interested in emerging markets, climate tech, fintech in Africa. It could be this interesting emerging markets at some point.
Yeah, so we've looked into this. We figured that we are not the best to invest in those markets and be a partner, simply because Hitachi doesn't really have operations, so the go-to-market promise that we have is not as high, and simply we don't really understand those markets. But India, for instance, if you want to call this one of those markets, then this is quite interesting, and actually something that we would look into. And climate finance and fintech in general is really interesting. So I'll drop my email in the chat, and then we can continue with the next pitch. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jan. Let's continue with Fredrik Eiserman from East Hill Equity.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. I didn't bring in the slides, so I'll just do this.
No problem.
But super nice to meet you all. Super glad to be here. So my name is Fredrik. I'm an investment manager with East Hill Equity. East Hill Equity is a Stockholm-based venture capital firm. We were established back in 2017, but we currently invest from our second fund, which is of a size of 200 million euros, and that was raised late 2022. So we're basically 1.5 years into that that fund, which has a lifespan of 10 years. What we invest is usually 3 to 10 million euros as a first step, and like any other VC, we save a lot of of gunpowder for follow-on investments. We can do anything from leading, co-leading, and following. We, however, want to be an active investor, taking a seat in the at the board, etc. And hence we don't aim to follow with a ticket that gives us 1-2% ownership. And with all this being said, I would say Series A is our sweet spot, but we do anything from seed to Series B. It depends a bit of the setup we can get with board seat and so. We invest across Europe. We have 12 active investments as of today. Majority of them are actually in Germany, although we are based in the Nordics. But yeah, we have a mandate for the entire Europe. We plan to do 2 to 4 investments yearly, give or take. And if one looks at the team, what kind of background do we have at Easthill Equity? We are mostly advisors from the beginning, coming from consulting like McKinsey, BCG, Roland Berger, also investment banking with JP Morgan. But then we have done venture private equity for quite some time. And what's maybe a bit unique with our setup is also similar to what Jan said with Hitachi, is that we're a single LP VC firm. So we received all our money from Scania, the Swedish OEM, which is part of the Volkswagen group. And the way we operate with Scania is that we as Easthill, we are an independent financial advisor, and we really sit in the boat with our founders. We are incentivized that the companies will make nice financial returns, but we also try to leverage the Scania and Volkswagen ecosystem if it can bring value to the portfolio company. That's really core of it. And that can be anything from if you're a hardware company and needs to scale up production, maybe you want to talk with someone that has done it before, then we can try to open that door. And in some instances, we invest quite close to the mobility space, and then we can leverage the Volkswagen ecosystem as a pilot customer or similar. But the main interface is always Easthill Equity for our portfolio companies. And in terms of focus, we do logistics, mobility. In terms of climate, we like electrification, we like battery technologies, and at battery we look at the entire value chain, everything from if you have a new kind of separator, or if you're focusing on recycling, and then yeah, charging is of course super interesting for us. What else? What do we look for when we consider investments? We like to see commercial traction, but that's not something that needs to be there, especially since we do hardware. We feel that it would be too harsh to require everyone to have 10 customers up front. But if you're a software company, then we would like to see a bit more financial traction. We also like to see properly incentivized founders and management team, given that we sit in the same boat. We want to have the same incentives. And to Mario's point, I think grit is super important as well, of course. I guess that's true for any line of work. And yeah, I would say that's Easthill Equity in a nutshell. I will also drop my email in the chat, and feel free to reach out.
Great. Thank you, Fredrik. I see one question regarding the percentage equity of company return of investment from Simon. What did you, if you can repeat,
okay, I think maybe the kind of like percentage ownership share we're aiming for, because we want to have a board seat. We do not want to invest, so we just get like 1-2% of the company. 5% can be fine, but if we can get it closer to 7, 8, 9, 10%, that's of course great. And with that being said, Series A really becomes our sweet spot, given that we do 3 to 10 million euros, with sweet spot there being maybe 7, 8. But we're open to do anything from seed to Series B.
I see one question from Julius. What's the most interesting battery recycling play for you right now? What the key unlock for making EV recycling work in Europe from your perspective?
I think that's a great question, Julius. Actually, for me, having looked to a couple of companies, I feel that automating the dismantling stage is quite interesting, because when one looks at the financial model, a lot of resources goes into really, purifying in a mechanical way before turning it to black mass. Then I still think in the black mass value chain, there's a question of like how will the black mass look like? From my perspective, will it be that you can separate anode and cathode earlier. Remains to be answered, but I'm really interested in the dismantling part of it and how that can be made more effective.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Frederick. I let you answer the questions on the chat box. We will continue with Emma Ertin from Dream Ventures. We have your slides here. Next one. Yeah, you can start.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Emma, and I work for Bring Venture, which are the corporate venture arm of the Norwegian Post and the Bring Group. So we are a very large logistics group in the Nordics. So you can switch slide, please. So just a short overview who we are, because probably not well aware around Europe, but we are one of the biggest logistics players in the Nordics compared to like DHL and UPS, focusing on the Nordic sector. And with our CVC, we invest actually from the balance sheet. So we can jump to the next slide. But we are set as our own entity, but we get a capital allocated from the group. We invest in 6 areas, which you see here. It's last mile innovation. And we talk about last mile innovation. It's not personal mobility space. So it needs to be more a business perspective or a new business models in the last mile sector. Supply chain technology or logtech, which are a very broad area, but can focus on everything from tracking to more robotics, warehouse automation, etc. And we focus a lot on circular economy and how to enhance that new business models. We focus on green tech, which focus a lot on climate tech, also a broad area, and also e-commerce and platform economy. And as a lot of CVCs already have mentioned, getting a CVC on board in the cap table will give you a more value-adding investor compared to just a traditional VC fund. So we bring in a lot of experience and competence from our group. We also offer the test environment for the startups that we invest in. And we also try to connect the experience and the network that we have with the startups that we invest in. And I will show you a few examples of that later on. When it comes to ticket size, it varies quite a lot, and we could be quite flexible since we invest from the balance sheet. But our sweet spot are around 1 million euros, but we can go lower to like €500,000 up to 8 million euros in first ticket. We prefer to invest in seed Series A rounds and prefer to not lead rounds. We can co-lead or follow up. And we always do follow-up investments in the portfolio, the companies that we do, if they show us, of course, great results. We focus mainly on the Nordics, but we can invest throughout Europe as well. And we can go to the next slide, please. When it comes to the team, compared to a lot of other VC teams, we are a full female team and based in Stockholm and Oslo. Next slide, please. And we have today 12 companies in our portfolio. We have done 14 investments since we started 2019. And those range from a little bit more hardware focused, like a Swedish company called Elon Road, doing electric charging roads, to more software-based applications as Ties, which are a competitor to Vinted, for example. And then we have 2 internal startups that we also manage in our portfolio. And then we can go to the next slide. And just an example of how we collaborate with the startups that we invest in. We have invested in a drone company called Avient in Norway, where we have together had a pilot project and seen how we can use drones in the future of delivering services. So here together with also a customer of ours, we have flow drones between 2 test centers that they have, and they have in Nemco Norlab, which are our customers, to fly water samples. So that's what we flew with drone. And the next example and the next slide is our company Elon Road, which have a charging technology which enable us to charge faster and more convenient. And there we have tested on our terminal in Norway, and we'll start a new pilot with them in our terminal in Malmö in Sweden. And just the last slide, summing it up, if you want to contact us, please email us on ventures@brain.com or reach out to me on LinkedIn. And you can also visit our website for more information. I'm happy to answer all your questions in the chat as well.
Thank you very much, Emma. Indeed, Elon Road was in Paris last May during the Vivatech week. We hosted them. So
yeah, they're doing great actually. So it's very interesting to follow them.
Well, the floor is now open for questions. Are there any questions here? I think maybe tell
Otherwise,
us.
please reach out and I will answer them throughout whatever channel you reach out on.
Perfect. Okay. Okay.
I think we have one question here regarding emerging market. We focus on the Nordic and Europe, so that's our geographical focus areas.
Maybe just to precise, do you focus in other non-EU countries, for instance, Serbia or?
No, not at this point.
No.
So only the Nordics and Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I let entrepreneurs reach out to you via email or answer. You can answer the questions here on the chat box. Thank you very much, Emma. We will continue with the next investor, Blanca Sastre from Elevate Ventures.
Hello, how are you? I will share my screen. Let me know if you can see it, please.
No, not yet. We can see the window of PowerPoint. Okay. Yeah.
Now?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, perfect. Well, so thank you very much for having me here. I'm Blanca Sastre. I'm working as an investment associate at Elevate. And for those of you who might not know it, Elevate is the corporate venture capital of Redella. We are based in Spain, and I will let you know a little bit more about the group now. So we already had one of the TSOs speaking, Turn Forward. They are like Red Eléctrica in Italy. So for us, Redella is a group of critical infrastructure operators on the energy and electricity sector and the telecommunications sector. So as said, on the energy, we have Red Eléctrica, which is the transmission system operation of the critical electricity lines in Spain, the high voltage ones. We have more than 45,000 kilometers in Spain, and we have more than 5,000 in South America, in Brazil, Colombia, and Peru. And on the telecommunications part, we have right now more than 9 satellites operating in Europe, and more than 52,000 kilometers in dark fiber. So this is kind of like to give you a little bit of a background of what is Redella. And now I would like to introduce you a bit more about what is Elevate. So Elevate was founded in 2019 as an innovation arm of Redella. We are currently 19 people on the team. And our aim and our goal is basically to bring innovation to the whole team through some tools, which I will let you know now. The main technologies that we focus on and the main technologies that we think that can bring innovation to the group are the IoT, satellite and 5G communications, AI, robotics, drones, any digital platform or digitalization of processes, big data and analytics, new equipment/materials, immersive technologies, and cybersecurities. And the main challenges that we've been looking at and we've been trying to solve from Elewit are basically improving the network and the development of our assets and the management of them to optimize all the system operation and increase the flexibility of the grid, being able to introduce the renewable sources that are being raised on the market, of course, increasing the sustainability of any of our process, and leverage any opportunities for the TSOs from new sectors, and yeah, generate new services, enable connectivity anywhere from the telecommunications part, increase the safety of all our employees and the security of it, optimize the automation of the cybersecurity in the whole group, and any digitalization in internal processes that we can have is also something that we look at. So how do we get to those challenges, or how do we try to incorporate all those new technologies? So we have, as you can see, many tools to do that. The main ones or the ones that we are working more hardly on, and that I think would be most interesting for startups and for you guys, would probably be a venture client, where we do projects and pilots with startups that are in very early stages and early TRLs. And then we have the venture capital arm, which is basically a venture capital where we invest from balance, and we invest in early stage startups. That I will let you know a bit more about our investment thesis now. So to show you a bit of our team, it's a team. It's a team that is basically formed by electrical engineers, but also a team that comes from investment companies and funds. And basically, what we are doing right now is we are investing strategically in startups that have a fit with any of the lines that I spoke to you about before. So how are we doing it? We are looking for startups in the pre-seed, seed, and Series A stages, investing tickets between $500,000 and up to $2 million, with the ability to do follow-ons in the future. And we always look to have that ability to add value to the startup, as well as receive value from the startup by receiving new technologies, innovations, etc. So what's interesting about the corporate venture capital is that we're not looking only for that financial rentability, which of course as a corporate venture capital we do look for it, but what we of course try is to make the group more innovative, have more knowledge and vigilance of the new technologies that are being raised. So we have invested in startups directly, as the ones that you can see here, which are Zeleros, Countercraft, Nearby, Hestech, Arolaser, Octogrid, and Unusuals with Turn Forward, which they already showed. And then we have also invested in venture capital firms such as Adara Ventures and Cardumen Capital, and we have now invested in a venture capital that is for energy transition in later stages. So to give a little bit more of perspective here, we have invested in very different sectors. We are not only focused on one very specific one. We are pretty open to listen, to speak with the startups, and to learn from them. And yeah, we are mainly focused in Europe, and of course with a huge ability to help and work with the startups in Spain, which is where we're based, but with the possibility to open to new markets.
Thank you, Blanca. Excellent.
I will just leave here my email in case someone wants to reach out later on. And I don't know if there are any questions.
I think it was very, very clear. I really, really appreciate it. Well, I think now this concludes our Taftie High Potential Reverse Pitch event powered by Euroequity. Startups, investors will receive your Euroequity's profile very shortly. And they can also reach out to you if they are also interested. I see so many of you also share the link, your LinkedIn and email. So thank you for that. Please let us know if finally there are some matchmakes or any relevant connections. We will share some questionnaires after this event. Thank you very much to all of you, especially Ruben, Anna, Marius, Pietro, Jan, Frederic, Emma, and Blanca. It was great to have you here, and I hope you really enjoy it, and it was an enriching event for you as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.